Okay, shall we get going?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Ujjwala, I think, has left. Anyway, Machiavelli talks about these two things in The Prince. One which he calls virtu. I am using his own language here, which is Italian and Latin. And the other one that he's talking about is fortuna. Virtu and fortuna. These terms he used against the Christian idea of virtue and providence. Okay, the Christian idea of virtue is living your life according to the diktats of the Bible, and it is a meaning that they had changed. Virtue as a word existed even for the Greeks, and the Greeks believed that virtue is excellence in something. Okay, when you excel in doing something, you are called virtuous. This use is still there in the world of music, especially when it comes to violin players. Okay, if somebody like L. Subramaniam or his brother L. Shankar, when they play great violin, then they are called violin virtuosos. Tuoso, virtuoso. So that is because they are excelling in that. That meaning is still, part of it is left. Providence is fate. And I told you, the Christians believe that if you suffered here, then you'll go to heaven and you will have 72 virgins. Everybody talks about the 64 virgins that Islam talks about, but nobody tells you about the 72 virgins that were promised to the Crusaders and to pious people by Christianity. Okay, so somebody once said that it is only these two religions which promise sex even after death. Anyway, but that's a different issue altogether. Okay, so virtue became living a pious life, and providence is your fate. Sometimes it can be good to you, sometimes it can be bad. It's not in your hands. Luck is not in your hands. That's what the Christians said. Machiavelli wanted to change that. So he talked about virtu and fortuna. The root, sorry, the root of the word virtu is vir, V-I-R, and it's manliness. Okay, funnily, even in Sanskrit, vir is manliness, manly energy. Nirvirya is one who has become energyless. A man who has become energyless is called nirvirya. Even impotent people are called nirviryas. Okay, so they share in Sanskrit, both in Sanskrit and Latin, that is a shared root. Now, for Machiavelli, virtu is manliness, and fortuna is a lady who is seduced by the manliness of the prince. She can be seduced. Show them your valor. Show them your courage. Show her, not them. Show her your courage. show them your valor, show them your ability to fight, then fortune will come to you. As a woman is attracted to a man, she'll get attracted to you and comes. The whole idea of fortune favors the brave. You would have heard of that. That comes from Machiavelli. It comes from Machiavelli, who says Fortuna will go to somebody who displays his virtu, which is manliness and all other things associated with it. This is again proof of his humanist leanings. He is not asking you to pray to somebody or anything. He's saying cultivate it yourself. You're capable of doing it. However, the prince did not really achieve what it wanted, which was the unification of all the city states. That it didn't do. So Machiavelli, at one stage, towards the end of his life in the 16th century, he was disheartened that the prince Lorenzo de' Medici didn't do anything with it. The Sforza family didn't do anything with it. He couldn't build up an army again and do things. So he was somebody who was disheartened. So he set this work aside and went back to complete the discourses which he had started writing. Remember, that's what I told you right in the beginning. He had started writing the discourses much before he wrote the Prince. Now, the Discourses is a completely different kind of a book. It's not like The Prince. The Prince is an experimental work in which he used the method of logical abstraction. But in the Discourses, or if you like, you can call it the Discoursi, but I suggest you call it the Discourses, he talks about a republican form of government. A republican form of government is not a monarchy. Please remember that. It's not a principality, right? So he is, in that sense, again, proto-modern, because he's now talking about some kind of way where people govern themselves. But he says it still requires leaders. It requires leaders. And it is here, it is in this particular work that we find Machiavelli truly showing us what he is. Machiavelli is somebody who belongs to a tradition which he probably started, a tradition of anti-Christianity. Okay, if you read the Discourses, there he talks about God, he talks about Christianity, and he says the Christian religion is not something that encourages the potential of the human beings. In the Discourses, he very clearly says the Christian religion is always calling a human being a sinner. He says the Christian religion debases human existence into believing that the human being is by birth very bad. Because please remember, Christianity believed that if you were born, if you were born as a human being, then you were carrying the original sin of Eve, right? And what is the original sin of Eve? God first created Adam, and when he created Adam, this is a patriarchal religion, and this is what all three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all three subscribe to this, apart from the virgins that are promised in heaven. Okay, now what he basically says is that the Christian religion makes an apology out of a human being. Okay, as soon as you're born, you have to be baptized. Baptism is done with water on the head of a baby. And even if somebody becomes a Christian at the age of 60, he still has to undergo baptism. Okay, he has to undergo baptism to wash off the original sin of Eve. Eve, who was created from the rib of Adam. Adam was very good. He behaved himself. But Eve was somebody who was very, very bad. She defied God. In heaven or paradise, God had said that you shall not eat the fruit of one tree. Okay, you shall not eat the fruit of one tree. And what happens is that Eve is tempted by that snake and made to pluck a fruit of that forbidden tree, the forbidden fruit of the forbidden tree. She plucks it out and eats it. So God is angry, and God, as a means of punishment, throws Adam and Eve onto the earth. He says, this is your punishment for doing what I asked you not to do. And you will no longer have eternal life unless you live your life on earth without being sinners. Unless you're able to do something like that, you will not be able to come back to heaven. And then he also cast out Lucifer, who was supposed to be his favorite archangel. It's written archangel, but it's pronounced arch. For one reason, because this word, for some reason, this, and when we say monarchy, anarchy, okay, it's also the arch. We don't say archy, monarchy. We don't say uh, anarchy. And we don't say archangel. We say archbishop. Okay, we say archbishop, but we don't say, we say arch enemy. But we say archangel because at that time in Greek there's no CH sound. There's only a K sound. So that's why they are called, actually it should be archangels, but they are called archangels. All right, and God was also very angry with Lucifer who he thought was taking advantage of his love for Lucifer, for God, for Lucifer, his love meaning God's love for Lucifer. And the Christians also say that Lucifer was jealous of the love that God was giving to Adam and Eve, and therefore he got cast out of heaven for eternity. Okay, Adam and Eve and their progeny have been given a chance to return to heaven, but Lucifer has been thrown out for good or forever. No entry into heaven again. Absolutely no entry into heaven. And he becomes the master of hell. And Christians believe that Lucifer is always trying to entice people towards himself. Because of his enmity with God, he tries to entice people towards himself. And so they said, have faith, have faith. But when Machiavelli talked about virtù and fortuna and talked about bravery, valor, courage, and fortuna as a woman who can be impressed, seduced by this manliness of the prince, he is doing something which is very, very anti-Christian. Very, very anti-Christian. And in the discourses, we don't have to deduce as we have done here. When he talked about virtù and fortuna, we have deduced that he's anti-Christian. But if you read the discourses, he's openly anti-Christian. He says, what is this original sin? There is no original sin. And he says, what kind of a prayer is this where you have to start your prayer by saying, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. So he says, you have made an apology out of a human being. He says Christianity has made an apology out of a human being. Doesn't allow the human being to celebrate his qualities. So humanism of Machiavelli is also anti-Christianity. And he's probably the first among a long list of people who are anti-Christian. The most well-known among them is Friedrich Nietzsche, the German thinker. Nietzsche also says Christianity portrays man as the ultimate man, which means he cannot be improved upon anymore. So he said, God is dead. God is the Christian God. God is dead. It is time for the Superman, not the comic Superman. That comic Superman comes from Nietzsche's idea only, but he didn't mean from planet Krypton and all that. No. He said human beings should realize their potential. Human beings should stand up for themselves and say, I am great. They should become achievers. That is exactly what Machiavelli does. And even a Marxist scholar like Gramsci, Gramsci, Antonio Gramsci, he basically says Machiavelli was right in his humanism. He believed in the true potential of the human being. Though sometimes it might look like a contradiction, especially in the Prince, when he says people have a tendency to be fickle. When he said rule with an iron hand or an iron fist, what he meant is rule with an iron fist. Why? Because people are whimsical. Some people like something, somebody else likes something else. So people have said, where is the humanist? But to solve a problem of human society, is Machiavelli looking at somebody who's not a human being? No, he's looking at a human being, a prince, to solve the problems. In Discourses, he says all human beings should strive to get their potential, to realize their potential. And therefore, he is a humanist. And he's among one of the first anti-Christian thinkers. Because in the Discourses, he says this Christian religion is a useless religion. He says a better thing is what the ancient Romans had. The Christians call it paganism. Okay, paganus, Paganus. Paganus is somebody who is a human being, a common person. Okay, but Christianity, these people had cosmologies. Okay, they didn't have religion. Please remember, religion has monotheism. There are only 3 religions in the world technically: Judaism, Christianity, Islamic, all of which are Abrahamic because they've been established by the sons of Abraham. The others are not religions. Okay, so those were called pagans, rather deridingly. And Machiavelli says paganism of the Roman variety is far, far superior to this whole Christian thing where you have to beg for mercy. You have to keep saying, I'm sorry, I'm a sinner. You have to apologize all the time. So look at the Roman gods. They reward you if you are a hero. They reward you if you show bravery. They want sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice do they want? They want you to be able to kill if you have to. They want that. They want you to show that you can stand up for yourself. So he says the time has come when we have to re-adopt the ancient Roman paganism. And he doesn't use paganism pejoratively, negatively. He uses it positively. Okay. Apollo is the head god of the Romans. And he said, look at them. And if you look at all the Renaissance sculptures of people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, paintings, look at the gods. They are handsome. Even the Greek gods, Zeus, the head god, and his children, Apollo, Dionysius, they are wonderfully good looking. So it is a celebration of the human form. It is a celebration of the human form. God created human being in his own image. Okay, which is what we call anthropomorphic today. But in those days, it was not anthropomorphic. When you say anthropomorphic, then you're saying that we have created God in our image. But people like Alberti, Bruni, Machiavelli, they say God created the human being in his image. And these are muscular gods. These gods are, athletic. And that's what Machiavelli believes should be the religion. Anger of the gods, he says, is a good thing. What is all this rubbish about compassion? Making you suffer and then say compassion. Nothing. You should be brave and not be afraid to use your bravery. So he basically says we should go back to ancient Rome. And it is in ancient Rome that we find what we want. So he basically argued, that there should be a complete separation of Christian ethics. In the Discourses, he's very clear. He's very, very clear about it. From politics. So Aristotle, by saying that man becomes political animal from his primary natural potential, which is man is a social animal, and he becomes a rational animal who is the political animal and has this good life, a moral good life there, right? He's called the father of politics. Machiavelli, by separating ethics and by reintroducing this term politics, which had completely disappeared in the medieval period of Europe, it had disappeared. I have 4 different books by different authors. Don't worry about those names. All these people have said medieval political thought. And these are great scholars, mind you. And I have read those books cover to cover. Nowhere do they find the usage of, where will you find the usage of political in it? Even though they talk about this whole thing called state, there's no state there. There's no political there. They are not there. It is Machiavelli who reintroduces this. And Otto Gierke, Gierke, Otto Gierke is the first person to concede the humanism of Machiavelli and the forward thinking of him. He's a German, Gierke, a great writer. And you will see Quentin Skinner says that Leo Strauss is completely wrong. Leo Strauss is judging Machiavelli as a Christian judges him. So says Machiavelli rejected Christianity. So to you, he will definitely seem like a preacher of evil. But he's not. He's trying to restore and put politics back on its feet. And Max Weber, the sociologist, later on claims that the Protestant ethic, the seeds of the Protestant ethic that led to capitalist society, which in it led to industrial revolution, all those somehow they all come from Machiavelli. All the new developments come from Machiavelli. So Machiavelli is called the founder of politics because he separated the ethics from politics, gave an independent identity to the political realm, separated religion from politics by separating ethics. He separated religion because those ethics were Christian ethics. He said there's no place for these. So if a political order came back into existence, Machiavelli is the one who has to be credited with it. And funnily enough, none of his two works, or rather neither of his two works, are voluminous, nor do they have any great philosophical ideas like you find in Plato, Aristotle, and later thinkers, people who came after Machiavelli. You don't find all that kind of profound thinking that you find in Hegel, Kant. You don't find all those things in Machiavelli. But he was the one who resurrected politics, which had disappeared in the Middle Ages or the medieval period. So he's called the founder of politics. From now on, things change. He's proto-modern, he's a humanist, and he believes in the potential of human beings to solve their own problems. He also believes in the rational ability of the human being. He doesn't believe in blind devotion. Faith, he says that's rubbish. So even Gramsci, who was a Marxist, admitted that he was very, very influenced by Machiavelli. In fact, he talked about the new prince in his writings, but that is not relevant now. So I'll stop here today with this idea that Machiavelli is the founder of politics. Tomorrow, I have a class with you, I think at 12 o'clock, and we will discuss, we'll start off with the social contractualists, we'll start off with Thomas Hobbes. We have to go a little fast because we don't have too much time left now, and therefore I would like it if your people can give me some time on Thursday Thursday we have a class, Friday and Saturday. If you can give me some time, I will be grateful to you. I will be able to finish the syllabus properly. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Rakesh, thank you very much for coming back. Prashant.
No, sir. Please take it, sir.
Yeah. Prashant, thank you very much for coming back. And Deepak, thank you for joining us. I think Ujjwala also joined us if she's there. Thank you, Ujjwala, for coming back and giving me this extra time so that I could finish Machiavelli off today. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow at 12.
Sir, please take care, sir.
Yes, I will. I will. Thank you. Thank you.